Welcome to my studio. You can only see part of it, but that's why you should come visit me in my studio so you can see all of it. I am a self-taught artist, which means that nobody has set any rules that I have to follow. That also means I make mistakes, but so it goes. That's how you learn, by making mistakes, I've always felt. But not only am I an artist, I spent my life as a teacher. And I started out very young as both an artist and a teacher. As I say in my statement, I made hats out of old newspapers for my mother when I was a little girl. And then when my sister was born and I was in school, I taught her everything I learned in school. So I try in my art to combine what I've learned as a teacher, both the research that I've had to do in order to write the scholarly books I wrote as a teacher and in order to prepare for the classes that I taught. So that's in my art, but also in my art is a desire that is very, very deep within me to ask questions. And so questions drive the work that I do. They drove the writing that I did, the books that I wrote. They drove the classes that I taught. I used to focus part of each class on how do you ask a good question. And it's not so easy to ask a good question because you have to know something in order to formulate a question. So in my art, not only do I sometimes begin a painting or a construction, because you can see somewhere, here we go. Here's a construction. I'll pick it up here a little bit. This is one of my favorite constructions. This is actually Barbie's Hope Chest. Barbie's Hope Chest is an old tea box that my mother got from someone that was full of Twinings tea bags, I think, Bigelow tea bags. And Barbie's Hope Chest, and this is the real Barbie that we're talking about here, she has a prince to kiss. She's got a frog there. She's got a horseshoe for good luck. She's got a sink trap in here because she needs to trap a man. And Barbie, doesn't weigh very much, so all she really needs is a little postage scale to see how much she weighs. So I do constructions, and they're political in some ways, but the constructions and the art are intended to evoke questions in my viewers. So when you ask me what does something mean, I'm not going to tell you because I don't want to give you the answer. What I would rather do is have you find things. And you can ask me questions. Maybe I'll answer them and, maybe I won't. But art is not created in a vacuum because I have several artists that have influenced me. But art also exists among other people. It exists as a relationship between the art and the viewer. It begins as a relationship between me, the artist, and the piece of art. And that relationship is enriched by all the visits I've had throughout my life to famous museums, which great fun to visit. And then once I've created it, it's really an externalized part of me that's on its own. I have no longer any control over it. And some people, that makes them nervous. I think it's great because what that means is that it has an existence in the world, and as people interact with it, it gets different meaning because we all bring something different to any experience, whether it's reading a book, reading a poem, or looking at a painting. Because if you, for example, really like birds, as I do, I was raised by parents who were amateur ornithologists, so I know a lot about birds. So you'll see in this particular painting, there is a pair. Can you see it? I can't tell whether you can see it or not. There's a pair of Cooper's hawks, and these are anatomically correct. I did it right, and there are a couple black snakes in here. And then there's poison ivy that goes up the tree. And so the question that, you ask yourself is, well, why are there two Cooper's hawks? One's in a nest, and one's captured a snake, and then there's a snake that's going up to the nest, and why is the tree covered with poison ivy? Well, I'm not going to tell you. I mean, I had a reason for putting it in there, but I'm not going to say what it is.